Yo, what's good, guys? Welcome back to another MidCourt Report episode. Today, we are going to be doing MidCourt Report's Bracketology and filling out the bracket as of right now, February 10th, 2025. So let's get right on into it. Real quick, if you guys want to do this, I go and use a website called brackethq.com. You could create your own brackets. You can seed them. You could do whatever. Put like times for when they're played, when they're whatever. So yeah, I use this website a lot. I do a lot with friends whenever I'm playing like 2K or Call of Duty. You could do it with Fortnite, Valorant, anything like that. Madden, college football. So yeah, that's what I mainly use this for. I'm gonna start using this for bracketology now and filling out my bracket. Obviously until the actual March Madness comes out, and then I'll actually fill it out on ESPN. But yeah, that's what we do on this here website. If you guys ever want to check it out, please be my guest. Go ahead and do so. It is a very good website. You can use it for whatever you want. At times, places that you have your matches, whatever you want. But yeah, it's a very good bracket website, and it helps. So let's get on into it. All right, we got 1 seed versus 16 seed. My bad. Auburn. They'll be playing either American or SIU Edwardsville. Obviously here Auburn's number one team. They are still the number one team in the country, even though they lost to Florida the other night. So I am gonna go with Auburn. I do like them in that game. Obviously it's Auburn, so we'll see. All right, and then next up we got Creighton versus Baylor. I like Creighton. They are a very solid team. They are on, I believe, a 9-game winning streak. Yes, they are. They're on a 9-game winning streak. Their last loss coming to Marquette. If you guys seen my updated top 25, Marquette has dropped pretty far for me. So yeah, it still holds a good win because they do also have a win against St. John's. They also just beat Marquette the other night as well. So how all that plays out, we don't know yet. I do really like Creighton in this one though, and that's who I'm going to go with. I am going to take Creighton in this one. Baylor, they are good. I do think they could win that game, but they just have to fix some things. They have to get rolling here at the end of the season. They've kind of been on like a win-loss streak right now. So I am going to go with Creighton. They have been the more efficient team, the more consistent team. So I am going to take Creighton there in that first round. And then we got Memphis and George Mason. So Memphis actually dropped last time in bracketology. They were a 4 seed, I believe. They're now the 5 seed. So they are on a 7-game winning streak. Last 2 wins coming to Tulsa and Temple. So Memphis is very good. They're ranked 14th in the country. They do have wins against like Ole Miss, Clemson, UConn. They have good wins, don't get me wrong. I do believe they are a very good team. But I won't lie, I do really like this George Mason team. I think they are one of the dark horses, one of the teams that aren't in a Power 4 conference, and this is one of the teams that I could see going on a Cinderella run. Obviously, if I had them on that Cinderella run, I think they're losing in the Sweet 16 as of how this bracket is laid out, because let's say I have them win here, they're playing probably Michigan State, Arkansas State, don't know, obviously. I said probably Michigan State or Arkansas State. Obviously one of those teams, probably Michigan State. They'd win here. They'd probably have to play Auburn. Everybody knows Auburn's very good. So I do really like this George Mason team. This is a Cinderella team for me as of right now. I do see them being a team that could make an Elite Eight, a Sweet 16, depending on if they get the right bracket or the right side of the bracket. And then also, things have to fall in their favor. Maybe a 1 seed losing in the Sweet 16. You know what I'm saying? And they're in the Sweet 16 on the other side of that bracket. And then once they get to that Elite Eight, they don't have to play the 1 seed. You know, then maybe they upset the 5 seed or something. You know what I'm saying? So things do have to fall into place for them. But I am going to go on a limb and say George Mason upsets Memphis in that game. Michigan State, Arkansas State. I really do like Michigan State this year. They are a very solid team. Obviously, they're ranked number 11 right now. They did have a 2-game skid there where they dropped 2 games. They probably should have won to USC and UCLA. They lost to USC by 6, UCLA by 2. So those are 2 games they easily could have won. They couldn't hang on to it, and it slipped away, but that happens to some teams. It's all about how you bounce back. They bounce back and they beat Oregon. They have IU tomorrow at the time of this recording on the 11th. So they should win that IU game. Then they have Illinois, Purdue, Michigan, and Maryland, Wisconsin. So there's out of their 6 next games, 4 of them are ranked. Illinois used to be ranked. They're not ranked as of right now, but they're not a bad team. So you never know. But yeah, I am going to take Michigan State on this one. I do like what they're doing over there in Michigan State. Same with Izzo and how he runs his offense. Obviously, they just tied the Big Ten's win record for Bobby Knight in Indiana. But yeah, I do think Michigan State pulls that one off. Then we got Michigan versus Vanderbilt or San Diego State. This is a 6 and 11 seed. I do think Vanderbilt beats San Diego State. I'm gonna say that, and then I'm actually gonna take Vanderbilt to upset Michigan as the 11 seed over number 6 or over 6 seed Michigan. So I am gonna take Vandy. I do believe that they will beat San Diego State. So we're going to go on a limb, say Vanderbilt upsets Michigan in the first round, and we'll see how that goes. Only time will tell. Obviously, this might not be the actual bracket when time comes around. But then we got Marquette versus Jacksonville State. I do like Jacksonville State's offense. They are a solid team. I think, they're 17-7. They are. I do like their offense, how they play. Obviously, they are not an insane team. Liberty is still 19-5. They have a better record, but Jacksonville State leads their Conference USA with a 9-2 conference record. Liberty is second with 7-4 conference record. But I do really like Jacksonville State. I like how they run their offense. Jerome Pierre Jr. Averages 21 points, 4 assists, and he shoots 43% from the field. Basically 44% from the field. I like his game. I think he could really get buckets against a lot of teams that people don't know. But in this case, they get a bad matchup. I do think Marquette wins this, even though they are on a losing streak right now. Marquette is on a 3-game losing streak, I believe. Yes, they are. Losses to UConn, St. John's, and Creighton. But I still think Marquette pulls that one off. Next up, we got Mississippi State and Utah State. I haven't seen much of Utah State, to be honest. I know that they are good. Obviously, they're 21-3, and they beat San Diego State. That was their only ranked win so far this season. They did beat St. Mary's College. St. Mary's is, for me, on the watch list for getting into the top 25 as of right now. But obviously, Utah State has been talked about a lot. I also have them on the watch list as of right now. They are on a 2-game winning streak. The last loss is coming to New Mexico. So that happens. Obviously, you're going to lose some games. But luckily for Mississippi State, I think they got a decent hand here in this bracket. So I'm going to go with Mississippi State. And then next up, we got number 2 Houston versus 15 Bryant. I haven't seen much about Bryant either. They did go on a pretty big win streak there for a little bit, 8-game win streak. But then they lost to University of Albany. So yeah, I haven't seen much about Bryant, but I do like Houston. Houston's one of my favorite teams to watch. They're also very good all the time in KenPom and all that. They're always a very efficient team, to be honest. It's basically a team that is kind of like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're always going to be good no matter what. But we got Houston winning that one. Next up, we got Tennessee versus Norfolk State. I like Tennessee, man. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I like Tennessee. Tennessee is just, they're one of the best teams, I believe. And, hey, you know, you never know what could happen, to be honest. Obviously, I don't think any 1 seed this year is going to lose to a 16 seed. I don't see that happening this year because the 1 seeds are insanely good this year. Everybody's already got a pretty good grip on who's going to be 1 seeds. It's going to probably be Auburn, Duke, Alabama, Tennessee, or Florida. So we'll see. Obviously, this Saturday, we got a number 1 versus number 2 matchup. Number 1 Auburn versus number 2 Alabama. The state of Alabama is going to be going at war Saturday, so that is going to be an awesome game. I'm definitely going to be watching that. I can tell you that. But next up, we got Clemson versus West Virginia. West Virginia, they're not bad, but they're not great. Clemson, on the other hand, just beat Duke Saturday. I think Clemson wins this one. I'm not going to lie. Clemson wins this one. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Clemson's a very good team. I think people underestimate how good the ACC is because the bottom half of the ACC is so terrible. I don't think people look at the top half at being as good as people think. Obviously, Duke, people know Duke is good. Duke's always going to be good. They're just one of those programs. But I think because of that entire bottom half of the ACC, those top 4, maybe 5 teams that are actually good aren't going to get the credit besides Duke. So Louisville, Clemson, Wake Forest, is it Stanford? I think that's up there. They're probably not going to get the same love that Duke gets because of that bottom half and because they've all lost to Duke besides Clemson. Clemson's the only team to beat Duke so far, but Louisville beat Clemson. It's kind of a circle right now with those 3, Duke, Louisville, and Clemson. Duke beat Louisville, Louisville beat Clemson, Clemson beat Duke. It's basically just a circle, but I do think the ACC, let's just say the top 3 teams, 2 of those teams are underrated. Louisville and Clemson, I think they're very much underrated. I don't think they get the love that they deserve because of the conference. So I think one of those teams will probably, Louisville or Clemson, they're probably going to make a pretty deep run. And then next up, we got St. John's versus McNeese. I'm going St. John's. I love what Rick Pitino does. He's got to be one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time. Every college he goes to. Kentucky won a championship there. He then went to Boston. Obviously, he wasn't the greatest head coach in Boston. NBA is a whole different level. But then came back, went to Kentucky's rival, their in-state rival, Louisville, won a championship there. Obviously, everybody knows it got taken away. I don't think that should have happened. But things happened. NCAA took it away. Then he went overseas, I believe, came back, started coaching St. John's, and has them in the top 10. The top 10. Rick Pitino's he's just a good coach. He really is. I'm taking St. John's over at McNeese every day of the week. Wisconsin and Samford. I haven't seen much of Samford either. This is a 4 and a 13 seed. Samford is 19-6. Obviously, they're in the SoCon conference, so they do not have the best matchups. They did absolutely get waxed by Arizona. They did lose to Michigan State by 8. But I'm just gonna go ahead and take. I'm gonna go ahead and take Wisconsin. On that one. Next up, we got Missouri, Nebraska. I do like what Nebraska is doing. Obviously, they are not the greatest team at 16-8, 6-7 in the Big Ten Conference. They did go on a very big losing streak there for a while. They lost 6 in a row to Iowa, Purdue, Rutgers, Maryland, USC, and Wisconsin. Now they're on a 4-game winning streak to Illinois, Oregon, Washington, Ohio State. They play Maryland again on the 13th. Maryland is now ranked 25th, so if they win that, that'll be a ranked win for them. They did beat Creighton earlier in the year. I do think this Nebraska team could pull off this upset against Missouri, but I think Missouri is going to be much more well polished with playing in the SEC. They also have big wins against teams like Florida, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Kansas. I mean, I just don't see Nebraska. They're good, but they just fall short with this pick right here. Missouri is going to beat them. And then next up, we got Iowa State and Northern Colorado. Although Iowa State has been on a little fall off here recently, I am going to go with Iowa State. I like what they do. I like how they play. Northern Colorado is not bad. They're 18-7, 10-2 in the Big Sky Conference, but it's not like they have any crazy wins or really any crazy teams that they have played yet. Their best team they played was Colorado. They lost by 2. So I am going to give that to Iowa State. Next up, we got Oregon and Georgia. Georgia being in the SEC could help them. It could help them in this one. Oregon currently on a 5-game losing streak, coming from Minnesota, UCLA, Nebraska, Michigan, and Michigan State. They did play a good game against Michigan, a good game against Nebraska. They did lose to Minnesota, though, by 8, and they lost by 26 to UCLA, and then 12 to Michigan State. So, yes, I do think I am going to go with Georgia, to be honest, actually. I'm going to go with Georgia. I changed my mind last second there. I was about to say Oregon. I'm going with Georgia. I think the SEC is going to help Georgia out so much more. They got that win against Kentucky and stuff. We're going with Georgia there, boys. They also have a win against LSU, Oklahoma as well. Although Oklahoma is no longer ranked, they're still a good team. St. John's, they also have a win against St. John's. Didn't know that one, but they have a win against St. John's. I'm going with Georgia for the 10-7 upset. Next up, we got Texas A&M and Central Connecticut. Central Connecticut, man, I'm sorry. I got to tell y'all not making it out the first round if you're playing against Texas A&M. I know that they're 17-6, and they're currently on a 6-game winning streak, but you're not making it out the first round if you're playing Texas A&M, man. Best game you've played so far is UMass. You beat them. Providence, you lost to them. Those are your best 2 games so far that I see just from looking at their schedule. All right, now on to the round of 32 for this side of the bracket. Auburn versus Creighton. I gotta go with Auburn, man. Auburn's just they're too good. They really are. They're really just too good. I do really like Auburn. Really in any matchup, they're gonna put up a fight. No matter what. That Florida game, they still put up a fight. They still fought to the very end. So I got to go with Auburn. Next up, we got George Mason versus Michigan State. Obviously, we had George Mason upset in Memphis, the 5 seed, in the first round. Michigan State being Arkansas State. George Mason, like I said, I do like how they run their offense and stuff. Michigan State also is just good, though. And to be honest, I would love to go with George Mason still, but I'm going to take Michigan State in this one. It's hard to pick against them, even though Michigan State's not crazy good. They are ranked, are a 4 seed in the bracket as of right now. But I just got to take Michigan State, man. Next up, we got Vanderbilt versus Marquette. Vanderbilt as the 11th seed, Marquette as the 3 seed. The SEC, once again, good schedule. Vanderbilt's got some very good wins on them. They got a win against Kentucky, Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas, obviously. They have good wins, man. They really do. They lost to Alabama, but they lost to Florida and Oklahoma as well. They play Auburn tomorrow. Then they have Tennessee again, who they've already beat once. Let's see if they can beat them again. Then they have Kentucky again, then Mississippi, then Texas A&M, then Missouri, Arkansas, and then Georgia. To be honest, Vanderbilt is going to have to upset some teams if they want to stay in the bracket, because that's 6 ranked teams in a row. That's 6 ranked teams in a row. As of today, that's 6 ranked teams. Obviously, some of these teams could fall out of the rankings. If anybody who does fall out, it'd probably be Missouri or Ole Miss. I don't see Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky, or Texas A&M falling out of the top 25. But, I mean, that's 6 games. 6 tough games. And if they win 2, maybe 3 of them, they can beat Missouri, Mississippi, and Kentucky, but lose to Auburn, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. They can beat the 3 worst seeded teams as of right now in their next 6. And I think they would have a chance to make it. And I think just Vanderbilt even being 500 as of right now in the SEC and 17-6 on the season, I think they're always going to have a chance to make it because of how tough that conference is. Jason Edwards leads the way with 17 points. He shoots 45% from the field. I'm going to take another upset here, man. I'm going to go with Vanderbilt over Marquette to upset. That's the 11th seed beating the 3 seed. We're going to go with Vanderbilt. We're going to go with Vanderbilt to the Sweet 16. Next up, we got Mississippi State and Houston. I really like Mississippi State. I do. I really do like them. But I just like Houston even more, man. I just have to go with Houston. They're analytically, they're just better. They're always really good in analytics, KenPom, all that stuff. Mississippi State is good, don't get me wrong. But Houston is just, they're top 31 in defense on the KenPom, top 20-ish, I think, top 20 in offense on the KenPom. Houston's good, man. And I'm going to take Houston. They're going to beat Mississippi State, man. Next up, we got Clemson and Tennessee. I'm gonna go on a wild limb here. I'm going to take Clemson. I don't know how that's going to happen. They did just beat Duke, okay? They did just beat Duke. But I'm just going to do it. I think one of these ACC teams are going to make a deep run. Could it be Clemson? Could it be Louisville? I don't know yet. Time will tell eventually. But one of them, I think, will make a deep run. Duke, obviously, I think is good enough. They're probably going to go far anyways. But Louisville, Clemson, one of them is going to make a deep run, I believe. I'm going to take Clemson with the upset over Tennessee. That's an 8-1 seed. I'm going to put Clemson into the Sweet 16. I just like what they do there. They're very physical against teams they have to be physical against. They were very physical against Louisville and Duke. Louisville is hungry. That's all I gotta say. Louisville is very hungry. They did lose that game to Georgia Tech. Clemson did also lose to Georgia Tech. Clemson lost to Louisville, but beat Duke. Louisville did lose to Duke. But it's like, I mean, Clemson and Louisville, they're good. People are underestimating them. But next up, we got St. John's and Wisconsin. Come on, man. Give me St. John's. Rick Pitino's taking his team to the Sweet 16. I'm telling you right now. St. John's, the Johnnies, the Red Storm, are going to be a problem. And come March Madness, they're going to be a problem. I really think so. I love Wisconsin. I love what they're doing. They're obviously did they get ranked this week actually? I don't know, but I really do. Yeah, they're ranked 16th. My bad. I'm tripping. Yeah, because they're on that 3-game winning streak. I should have known that. I like Wisconsin. I really do. But it's hard to say no to a guy like Rick Pitino. He's a fantastic coach. I promise you. He's a fantastic coach. R.J. Lewis Jr., he gets buckets for him there. Kadary Richmond also gets buckets, and he shoots very well. He shoots almost 50% from the field. Like, St. John's is a very good team, and they play turnover-free basketball. What Rick Pitino does for them is he gets their offense into a flow state to where they do not commit a lot of turnovers. They're very smart with the ball. High IQ basketball. And that's why they win so many games that they do. I'm taking St. John's to beat Wisconsin. That's a 5 over the 4 seed. I think St. John's is just going to be I think they're going to be a problem, man. Next up, we got Missouri and Iowa State. Come on, man. Give me Missouri. That's a 6 over a 3 seed. The SEC is going to be so tough. It's going to prepare some of these teams for tough, big games. I think Missouri is going to be one of them. Although they do have a couple losses on the year where they should have won, Missouri is still good. They're 17-6. They are on a 2-game losing streak to Tennessee and Texas A&M. But both of those losses, Tennessee by 4, Texas A&M by 3, I got to go with Missouri. I just have to take Missouri right now. They're good. They're strong. They're physical. They're fast. I love how they play. I like how Iowa State plays as well. But I just don't think, especially with how Iowa State's playing right now, I just don't see them being Missouri. Missouri's going to be prepared. They're going to be ready. They're going to be physical in that game. I'm going to take Missouri. Next up, we got Georgia versus Texas A&M. Man, give me Texas A&M. I love how Texas A&M plays. SEC matchup right there in the round of 32. I'm going with Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is going to win that game. I really like how they play. Once again, there's 13 teams from the SEC that are basically in the March Madness right now. Like, as of right now, if March Madness started today, there's 13 SEC teams. It's hard to bid against SEC teams right now. And now we have another SEC matchup in Sweet 16. I don't know what to tell you guys. There's going to be a lot of SEC matchups. But here we are. Anyways, moving on to the round of 16, Sweet 16. Auburn versus Michigan State. I can't bet against Auburn right now. I just can't do it yet. They're so good. Janine Broome, he's just a bucket, man. I'm taking Auburn. And then we got Vanderbilt versus Houston. This is the 11 seed versus the 2 seed in the Sweet 16. I think their loss ends there in the Sweet 16. I'm going Houston, man. There's not going to be another SEC matchup in the Elite 8. We're not doing it. Heck no. Houston's taking that win over Vanderbilt. Once again, I love how Houston plays. Clemson, St. John's, man. Rick Pitino, bro. I'm sorry, Clemson. You guys could be the team that makes that deep run in the ACC. Outside of Duke, you guys could be that team that makes that deep run. But I got to go with the Johnnies, bro. I got to go with the Red Storm, St. John's. What they're doing over there, it's just amazing. It's amazing basketball. Missouri, Texas A&M, an SEC matchup in the Sweet 16. I got to go with Texas A&M, man. I got to go with Texas A&M. I know that they did play. Missouri barely lost by 3. It's hard to bet against Texas A&M when they have wins against Mississippi or Ole Miss. Yeah, my bad. They got a win against Purdue, Creighton, Ohio State, who's still a solid team. They did lose to Alabama, Kentucky, Texas, Oregon, UCF. I mean, they do have some losses that kind of sting. But Although Missouri is good, man. I like Missouri. I do. I really do. Don't get me wrong. I gotta go with Texas A&M. Man. And Missouri as a 16 making it to the Sweet 16. I'll take that all day. SEC matchup. Let's go on up here. Actually, you know what? Nah, we're going to go over here to the other side of the bracket, baby. We're going to do the Elite Eight at the end. Yep. Next up, we got Alabama and Southern. I just got to take Alabama. Once again, they're just good. Another SEC team who's just good. I don't see a 1 seed losing to a 16 seed this year. And then St. Mary's versus New Mexico. I got to go with St. Mary's College. I love how they play there. I really do. New Mexico is solid. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. St. Mary's is a good team. Do not lie to yourself. St. Mary's is a solid team. They're one of those teams who, if they get in the right spot, right here, they can make it to the Sweet 16 or something. But I don't think they're going any farther if they're playing Alabama in the second round. New Mexico, like I said, is a good team. They're on a 6-game winning streak as of right now. They're 20-4 in the Mountain West. They did lose to St. John's, but they beat UCLA. They beat USC. I mean, it's not like they have a bad standing. They beat Utah State. Utah State is not bad. But I just think St. Mary's will be more prepared for that one, and they're going to come out with that win. Ole Miss versus UC Irvin. I'm going to take Ole Miss. SEC, man. Just SEC, man. It's hard. It's hard out here. It's SEC. You can't really argue against SEC. Arizona, Akron, I'm going Arizona. They're looking so nice recently. Ever since that win against Iowa State, it kind of just pushed them over the edge. Now they're kind of like a rolling ball, just rolling down the hill right now. They're pretty high ranked this week in the AP poll. Also, I think I have them at 15 or 16. I don't remember. They're rolling, though. But, hey, got to go with Arizona, man. Illinois and Drake. It's going to be crazy, y'all. I'm going to take Drake for the upset. I got to go Drake. Bulldogs, man. Once again, Drake is not a bad team. Obviously, their best win is against Vanderbilt, probably. Yeah, their best win's against Vanderbilt. Vandy's good. Don't get me wrong. Drake is 22-2. Their only 2 losses are coming in conference play. They're 12-2 in their conference. But I'm going with Drake with the upset. Illinois, don't get me wrong. They are good. Illinois is a good team. They were ranked not that long ago. But they're kind of on that win-loss path as of right now with a loss to Maryland, win against Northwestern, my bad. Lost to Nebraska, win against Oklahoma State, lost to Rutgers, win against Miami. Now they got UCLA, then Michigan State, Wisconsin, Duke. They're good. They are good, but I'm gonna take Drake. I'm gonna take Drake for this one. Next up, we got Texas Tech versus Utah Valley. I'm gonna go with Texas Tech. I just like what they're doing. 3 seed over a 14 seed. Texas Tech is very good, although they did lose to Arizona State. Arizona the other day. They have wins against Houston. They did already beat Arizona once. Barely lost to Iowa State. They have wins against BYU, Utah, TCU, Oklahoma State. Obviously, those are not the greatest teams, but when you're beating teams like Houston, it's gonna hold some weight because Houston's a very good team. So I am going to go with Texas Tech there. Next up, we got Louisville versus Texas, and SEC versus ACC matchup. As everybody knows, this year, no ACC team beat any SEC team in the SEC versus ACC games. Not one ACC team won, I think, if I remember correctly. But I think that changes. If Louisville gets Texas in the first round, I think Louisville wins. Louisville's they're a hard-fought team. I argue against it. They are a hard-fought team. Next up, we got Purdue versus UNC Asheville. I'm going to go with Purdue 2/15 seed. I do like Purdue. They're gonna be good for a while as well. I do think they do have some stuff that they could work on, obviously, but nothing too major. It's nothing that's gonna like absolutely tear them down. They have wins against Alabama, Ole Miss, Oregon, Michigan, and then Iowa and USC. They do have a loss to Auburn, Texas A&M, Marquette. Don't get me wrong, Penn State's good. Or Purdue's good. My bad, I'm tripping. Purdue is good. I think they beat UNC Asheville. Next up, we got Duke. I think Omaha beats Merrimack, but I am going to go with Duke. It is Duke. Once again, Cooper Flagg. With that loss to Clemson, though, I do think they're still a top 3 team in the country. Personally, I have them at number 2 because I don't think any ACC or I don't think Clemson is as bad as people say, or I don't think the ACC is as bad as people say. I do think by the end of the season, Duke, Louisville, and Clemson will all be ranked. I don't know about any other team, but I do think those 3 teams will be ranked. Those are the 3 top teams in the ACC. So, yeah, I will take Duke. Next up, we got Gonzaga versus Ohio State, man. I'm going to go with Ohio State. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with Ohio State. Ohio State is not bad. Don't get me wrong. Gonzaga is also good as well. I am just going to go with Ohio State, though. Gonzaga's last loss coming to St. Mary's College, who, once again, I do not think St. Mary's is bad. Don't get me wrong. But I do think Ohio State could beat Gonzaga. They have wins against Maryland. They have wins against Purdue. They have a win against Kentucky. I mean, they're not bad at all. They have a win against Texas. They are 14-10, but they do have good wins, good strong wins. Do I think they could lose this game easily? Yes. This is a very strong toss-up between those two, but I am going to go with Ohio State. UCLA and Yale? Woo! That's a 5 versus 12 seed. I have not seen much of Yale this year. I do know that they are on a 8-game win streak, with their best loss, I guess, coming to Purdue by 8. They only lost to Purdue by 8. I do think Yale is a lot better than people think. I do think this could be a team that could win a lot, obviously. UCLA also, though, I do think they are good. They're also on a 7-game win streak. Last couple wins, Oregon, Michigan State, Wisconsin. UCLA is not bad at all. I don't think they're bad at all. 4 of their 6 losses are coming in the Big Ten. They also have a win against Purdue and Oregon. So, hey, man. Or, my bad, not Purdue. Gonzaga. But, yeah. I think I'm gonna go with UCLA in this one, man. I think I'm gonna go with UCLA in this one. Next up, we got Kentucky and Lipscomb. Lipscomb. I don't know how to say that. I'm going with Kentucky. SEC. SEC, man. Right here, we got Maryland versus BYU or Wake Forest. I'm going to take Wake Forest beating BYU. And then I think I'm going to take Wake Forest to beat Maryland. An upset right here. 11/6 upset. I've had a lot of 11/6 upsets, I think, this so far. I might be wrong. I mean, I had Vanderbilt over Michigan, Drake over Illinois, Wake Forest over Maryland. But, alright, I've had, out of all 4 of the 11-6 matchups, I've had 3 of them going to the 11th seed. Don't know why, but for some reason, like 11 seeds as of right now. But I am going to take Wake Forest. I do think they're solid. They barely lost to Duke, obviously. They were ranked at one point. They're a solid team. Don't get me wrong. The ACC, once again, I think they're a lot better than people give credit, and that's because of the bottom half of the ACC. But I don't think you could discredit a team because the bottom half of their conference is just doo-doo. Like, that's like saying, you know what I'm saying, St. John's you're discrediting them because the bottom half of the freaking Big East sucks. But they have Creighton and Marquette and UConn in their conference as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't discredit them because those teams at the top are good, but the bottom half sucks. That's literally the ACC. The top 4 or 5 teams are actually good. The bottom half sucks. You can't discredit the top teams for that. Only team that's getting credit as of right now in the ACC is Duke. But I think Louisville and Clemson are way better than what people think. Wake Forest is up there. They're a very solid team. But can't do much about it. Just got to live with what the voters say. And all you can do is just prove them wrong in March. Next up, we got Kansas versus Cleveland State. I like Kansas, man. I do like Kansas. I really do like Kansas. That's a 3 and a 14 seed. Kansas obviously lost to Kansas State last time, but they do have that win against Iowa State. They did lose to Houston by 6. They lost to Iowa State earlier in the year, but they lost to Creighton and Missouri. But they do have that win against Duke, which holds a lot. Michigan State, that holds a lot as well. UNC, they did beat by 3. UNC, I don't think is horrible, but they got UNC is not as good as everybody expected. I don't think they're horrible, though. They're just not as good as everybody expected. I'm pretty sure they're playing right now against Clemson. Oh, no. The final score just popped up for me. Clemson beat UNC by 20, 85-65. Yeah, UNC is not as good as everybody thought they would be. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Kansas over Cleveland State. UConn and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's being in the SEC. That could be an upset, but I am going to go with UConn. Even though it's not the, craziest win, I would not be surprised if Oklahoma beats UConn, but I am going to go with UConn. I am going to win too. UConn did just lose to St. John's. They did beat Marquette, though. They do have wins against Gonzaga, Baylor. Those are ranked wins as of right now. They have Creighton coming up tomorrow, so we'll see about that game. But next up, we got Florida and Towson. I'm going with Florida. SEC, man. It's like, literally, that's all you got to say is SEC. It's hard, SEC. Come on now. Here, Ole Miss, Arizona. I'm going to go with Arizona, man. I think Ole Miss, if this is the bracket that ends early, Arizona's just on a roll. Man, they're very good. They kind of got it rolling right now after that Iowa State win. They pushed them over the top, and they've kind of got it, you know what I'm saying, rolling like a snowball down a hill, man. It's just piling up. It's getting bigger. They're getting stronger. If you get hit by it, it's going to hurt. You know what I'm saying? Next up, we got Drake and Texas Tech. I am going to take Texas Tech. I think Drake's upset there against Illinois. It's not very long-lasting. I do think they lose to Texas Tech in the round of 32. Next up, we got Louisville and Purdue. I like Louisville in this matchup, man. I got to take them. I like Louisville in this matchup. I think they would match up very well against Purdue. Yes, Purdue is considerably better ranking-wise and against their matchups. But I think Louisville's better than what we think. When Louisville played the good teams early in the year, they only got blown out by Tennessee and Ole Miss. They barely lost to Kentucky, barely lost to Duke, and those are teams that they barely lost to after a major injury and one of their star players, Keyshawn Pryor. Louisville, I think, even without Keyshawn Pryor, if they play Kentucky and Duke today, it could be very different. Do I think Duke could win? Yes. I think Louisville would beat Kentucky. Duke and Louisville would be a very close one for me. I don't know who would win. I can't say Louisville would win, but I can't say Duke would win because Louisville has gelled since that Kentucky loss. Kentucky was that last loss, 10-game winning streak. They did lose to Georgia Tech, fell apart there, but it happens. Good teams drop games. Like I said, Duke lost to Clemson. They dropped a game. They could have won that game, but they dropped it. It happens. Is Clemson much better than Georgia Tech? Everybody would say so. But Georgia Tech beat Clemson. So, Clemson also lost to Georgia Tech. Clemson beat Duke. Georgia Tech beat Louisville. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Louisville just matches up very well against that Purdue team. I really do. And I think Louisville would be a much different team had, obviously, that injury not happened, but can't complain about it. But if Louisville plays Duke in Kentucky today, I think it's different. I think they beat Kentucky, and I think even though Duke won by 11, that game was close, I think it's a much closer game than 11 points. I really do. But next up, we got Duke versus Ohio State. I just got to go with Duke. Ohio State, they're good. They're not great. Duke is obviously one of the best teams in the country. Next up, we got UCLA versus Kentucky. Y'all know where I'm going with this one. We getting that rematch. Duke, Kentucky. Yeah, we getting that rematch. We are getting that rematch. Wake Forest versus Kansas. I would love to say Wake Forest, but Kansas is going to end them there. I took Wake Forest with that upset over Maryland, but Kansas is going to win. They are going to beat Wake Forest. I think they move on to the round of 16. UConn, Florida. That's a tough game, but SEC, baby. SEC. Oh, man. Y'all see where we're going now. All right, here we go. We got Alabama, Arizona. Woo! Gotta take Alabama. I love Arizona. I like what they're doing recently. I really do. But Alabama, it's Alabama, man. They're the 2 seed for a reason. They play Auburn this Saturday. If they beat Auburn, they know, everybody knows that they're actually good. Okay? We all already know they're good, but if they beat Auburn, that solidifies. All right. Like, they're coming for that championship, man. Arizona's going to lose there in the Sweet 16 to Alabama. Next up, I got Texas Tech versus Louisville. I'm going to be crazy here. I love Texas Tech. I love Louisville, obviously. I'm going to take Louisville. I think Louisville wins that game. Obviously, if they're healthy. Obviously, without Keyshawn Pryor. Today, with how Louisville's been playing here recently, I'm taking Louisville over Texas Tech. I'm just doing it. I'm doing it. Duke, Kentucky, the rematch. Last time this year Duke and Kentucky played, Kentucky won. But this time they're not winning. We're going with Duke. I'm sorry, Kentucky fans. You know, y'all are good, don't get me wrong, but your team's got to be playing some defense, man. Your team has to play some defense. They just haven't been able to play defense very good recently. Their biggest win in their last 6 games is South Carolina, the worst team in the SEC. They won by 20, I believe. And in their last 6, they've lost 4. So I'm going to take Duke. Duke's going to win that rematch. They're going to advance to the Elite 8. Kansas versus Florida. Man, I got to take Florida, man. I like Kansas. I really do. I would like to take Kansas. But Florida, they're good. An SEC matchup there. I'm going to take... not an SEC matchup, but I'm going to take the SEC team in most cases this year because the SEC they're seriously just good. They really are. Next up, we got actually, you know what? We're going to go back to this side. Auburn and Houston. Woo, boy. Houston could be that team to upset Auburn. Houston could be that team. And although Auburn's got 8 wins against top 25 teams, I believe is what it is. They have 8 wins against top 25 teams. Houston's last loss is Texas Tech, but they've beaten teams like Kansas. That's really, they already played Auburn. They did already play Auburn. They lost by 5. They played Alabama, lost by 5. Kansas is really their best win. They got Arizona. They're playing Baylor right now. Man, you know what? I'm doing it. I can't. Auburn. I couldn't do it. Auburn's going to beat Houston again. I think they win that game. Second matchup. Auburn's going to win. St. John's, Texas A&M. I just can't yet. I can't do it yet. I can't go against Rick Pitino and how he has them playing right now. I just can't do it yet. St. John's is going to be Texas A&M. And they're going to be moving on to the Final Four. Alabama versus Louisville. I love Louisville. I like what they're doing. I like what Pat Kelsey's doing over there in the Ville. The Reviveville, obviously, it's awesome. I love what they're doing. That team's going to be great for seasons to come under Pat Kelsey. But I got to go with Alabama. I don't see Louisville beating Alabama. They've already made it far enough, but they're not beating Alabama, man. Duke and Florida. If Florida wins this, we got an SEC matchup in the Final Four. We had 4 SEC teams in the Elite Eight, 2 ACC teams in the Elite Eight, and then a Big East team and a Big 10 team, I believe. Or Big 12, my bad. Houston's Big 12. My bad. I'm tripping. Duke, Florida. I gotta go with Duke, man. I can't bet against Duke. Cooper Flagg and them, they're good. I like Florida, I really do. But I think Duke wins that one. I think it's a close game. I'm gonna go with Duke. I'm gonna take the ACC team in that one. All right. Auburn, St. John's. Sadly, I don't think St. John's is going to the championship. I don't think they're going to the championship. I'm taking Auburn. Rick Pitino's run ends there as a 6th seed. St. John's. Auburn is just too good, man. They're just too good. They're on a different level. Even though they did take that loss to Florida, they are on a different level. Next up, we got Alabama, Duke. I'm going with Alabama. We're having an SEC championship game. We're doing it. Duke, I love Duke. I like what they're doing. I love watching Cooper Flagg hoop. He gets buckets. He's a bucket getter. But I'm going with Bama. What they do over there in Alabama, man, an Alabama championship, baby. That's what it is. It's an Alabama championship. Auburn versus Alabama. The state of Alabama. Come on now. The state of Alabama. What Alabama's doing, though, is just, it's unreal. They do only have 3 losses. They only have 1 loss in their conference coming to Ole Miss. They lost by 10, but since then they've beaten Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, LSU, Georgia, Arkansas. A couple of those are not great wins, but Mississippi State, Kentucky are obviously good wins. They've also beat Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Creighton, UNC, Houston, Illinois. They lost to Purdue and they lost to Oregon. But, man, oh man, taking Alabama in that one. Now, for the Alabama championship, the state of Alabama championship, man, I'm going with Alabama. I'm doing it. I think Auburn's going to be on their high horses. I think Alabama wins. I'm going to say 72-65. Alabama wins by 7 in the national championship against Auburn. I really like Auburn. I like Janine Broome, but I also like Mark Sears in Alabama. It's hard, man. It is hard. They are ranked 1 and 2 seed in the AP polls as of right now. They play Saturday. So we'll see if I'm right. If Alabama wins, I took the correct team. If Auburn wins, I chose the wrong team. But as of right now, I'm going with Alabama. This may change next week. But we're doing it. We're going with Alabama, baby. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have you seen anything that you think would happen differently? Maybe I had a team going too far. Maybe I didn't have a team going far enough. Let me know down in the comments below. Anyways, peace out.